In this video, we'll be going over IRS Notice CP21B, which appears to be some sort of adjustment notice with an overpayment involved. So that's what I was able to find when I looked up this particular notice number. So we will go through this. It's one page, and if there are any forms that are mentioned here, I'll be sure to put links in the show notes for you. So really quickly, we're just going to go through this notice. The one thing that there are two things I usually point out to people is we're going to take a look at the top right hand corner. You'll see the notice number CP21B, the tax year in this case was 2016. The notice date, January 30th of 2019. So the first thing that I always caution people to do is pay attention to the notice date. In this case, there's a refund due, but in some cases, particularly in collection notices, there may be a requested or a required action. And a lot of times, if there is a requested action, then there will be some sort of due date that's tied to that notice date. For example, it might say, if you disagree with this notice, please respond within 30 days of the notice date. Please provide us this documentation within 45 days of the notice date. I don't see that in this notice, but I always encourage people to pay particular attention. So social security number, a contact phone number, and then in some cases you might have a caller ID so that you can identify yourself if there's a specialized office that you're referred to. This appears to be just the generic 800 number. So in this over here on the left hand side, you'll see the taxpayer, you'll see the address. So the second thing that I always encourage people to do is make sure that your address is up to date with the IRS. Normally this is done by filing your income tax return. If you file next year's return with a new address, then the IRS will automatically update your account with your new address information. However, if you move shortly after filing your tax return, or if you know that there is a long time between the time that you move and when you will file your next tax return, then you should go ahead and notify the IRS. You can do that by calling the IRS and validating your identity and changing your address over the phone, or you can file IRS Form 8822. That's the official change of address notice for individual taxpayers, or IRS Form 8822-B, which is the change of address form for business taxpayers. So those are the two things I recommend. Make sure that you change your address or that you update your address so that you receive these notices in the case that there's an action item due. You don't want to lose any time with your notice trying to catch up to you in the postal system. So let's take a look at this. So basically it says, based on the information you provided, we changed your 2016 Form 1040 to correct, looks like business income or loss. So that would be reported on Schedule C. I'm trying to see if there's any specific information on the Schedule C. There isn't any here. There are notices where they will actually do a side-by-side comparison with what the taxpayer had versus what the IRS changed it to, and that can help you better understand. So in this case, the IRS calculated that there was a decrease in the tax, there was a decrease in the failure to pay penalty, and then there was a decrease in the interest that was associated with either the tax or the penalty. So all of that resulted in a refund of $2,128.66. So if you don't do anything, you can just sit there and wait for the check to come in. If the IRS has direct deposit for your account information, it'll appear in your bank account. If not, then you should see a check in the mail. If you don't agree with the changes, then call the 800 number on the top of your notice up here and have a discussion with the IRS. So you should have your tax information. If you think there's a larger refund that you should be owed, then you can have that conversation before the IRS actually does anything. So there is additional information. One of the more, I guess, key points is the IRS is required to send a copy of this notice to both a taxpayer and the taxpayer's spouse, so both spouses. But if you receive this twice, it's because there should be a copy addressed to one spouse and then a copy addressed to the other spouse. You only need to pay any amounts due one time. So if you saw a balance due, then you would pay that one time. Conversely, if both spouses are receiving a notice, you should only receive one notice. Now, I tried this hyperlink before turning on the camera. This doesn't seem to work. We come to this page not found, but that's because the link was for CP21, and this is a CP21B notice. So if I type in B in the URL at the end, then this comes up. So that was a typo from the IRS. This page, I imagine, does not get a lot of hits because of that link being broken, but there are a couple of frequently asked questions, things that you can do to follow up if you didn't receive a refund, if the IRS owes interest. If you receive $10 or more in interest because the IRS owed you interest, the IRS will issue you a Form 1099 INT the next year, and then you would have to report that interest and pay taxes on it on your next tax return. So a little bit of irony. The IRS pays you interest, but then you have to pay taxes on the interest. Let's see. If you need to make any additional corrections to your account, you can file an amended tax return. If you have additional challenges and you can't get help from the IRS, you can request assistance from the taxpayer advocate. You can call the IRS, the taxpayer advocate, at the 800 number here. You can also file IRS Form 911, which is the request for taxpayer assistance. And then there are identity theft resources if that's applicable to your situation. So there was some information that we didn't go over in that notice, but most of it was pretty generic. So we'll go back to this notice momentarily. And that's all we have for this video. But we'll put links in the show notes to some of the forms, the resources that we created for some of the forms mentioned in this video. If you like our articles, please subscribe to our newsletter. If you like our YouTube videos, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. And as always, if you have any questions, comments, or if there's another topic that you'd like to see discussed in an upcoming video, hit me up in the comments section. Thank you very much and have a great day.